And I only met Barbara last summer, but she's been in a prayer group of mine for quite some time. And it was through that that I came to know that she has done a lot of research, especially regarding family relationships and how to improve family life and how to heal oneself. You know, she's not trying to be a counselor for people, but she does this thing with cards where it's like it helps you to find out something about your relationship. And I interacted with her on that basis. So yeah, she's got a lot of interesting, I think, information and experience to share. So I encouraged her to give a talk, and so I'm grateful that she's come today. Right. So the title of her speech or talk again is How to Take a Leap on Our Path of Spiritual Evolution. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Barbara.
Thank you very much for this introduction, and thank you to all of you for coming. I've been very looking forward towards this talk. And yes, my kind of subtitle would be, and my intention actually is to share with you about my own striving for parental love and for my own inner child healing. So I would like to just dive in because we are only having a short time together, and already you have heard Father's words, but I have some like beautiful words expressing the direction we're actually going, and that is my like spiritual guide. These words, when he said, it was in 74, True Father said, when a couple in the kingdom of heaven gives birth to children, they are the children of God. You can feel that immediately. When a couple loves each other in the kingdom, they can feel another dimension of God's love. When you have such a strong bond of love under God's protection, parents and children cannot be separated. Thus, they experience vertical love on a higher level, and they will set the true tradition of loving relationships between children and parents. Once that is formed, that is God's nation, and God lives there. Then our 5 spiritual senses will be opened, and we will live seeing everything and hearing everything. To inherit such a family tradition is the way the blessed couples meet God. For me, these words are very, touching. And when I speak about spiritual path and taking a leap, it would be really wonderful to come a step closer, at least, to this kind of reality. Yet achieving this spiritual reality that True Father talks about is not easy for myself, and I think for many. And as you know, working with children can be kind of sometimes very sad to see the reality. Anyway, I studied also, I was on a course on mental health of children, and I came across this kind of research where children were asked, if you were granted one wish about your parents, what would that be? So if you were asked the question, what would you say? But the kids' number 1 wish was that their parents were less tired and less stressed and be the people who can take care of themselves. So I thought it would be the answer of these children that we need to take seriously when we consider spiritual life. Don't you think so? So I want to clarify that for me, this kind of spiritual transformation or any kind of feeling is mainly about my daily life. So when True Father spoke in 74, he actually talked to ordinary people. So here we are exploring how to make an impact on a world stage and maybe, create the kingdom of God, that through, and also True Mother wishes that for us very much. But, I am just an ordinary partner who may have limitations and weaknesses, and I have children who have their problems and are different from my expectations, I sometimes think. And I'm just in an ordinary job and work with kids who have many problems. But, we have such wonderful resources like Divine Principle and True Father's Words and Ancestor Liberation and community. So there should be no a kind of resistance or problem to us transforming our lives or improving our health, and especially improving our relationships, because we know how important they are. For me, somehow the desire and motivation and like intense desire and motivation to change really something came when I was in a situation and I had enough, my family situation was difficult. My daughter was very ill, but still I had a huge resistance to go deeper and do what is called somehow working with our shadow or subconscious mind. Because sometimes, going there or shedding light on the parts of ourselves that are denied can be very, very painful. So, as I said, I was a tired mom, one of those that the children would like not to have, not taking care of myself. And I had to start my healing journey because of my daughter's illness. And of course, I went to Champion and I was in a family therapy, but one time I was in South London Centre, actually, Church Centre, a long time ago. And I was doing a constellation session with one sister, she late Lubelia. And I had the chance to look at myself. And I really disliked myself a lot when I saw myself in the representative of myself. So at that time, my issue was being a mother who really blamed myself and felt powerless, basically, in dealing with my problems. And I felt rejected by my daughter, which, was, I think, for many people, for many mothers, it is a huge problem. But I could not see, and I could realize then, that in fact my daughter was just showing me that I rejected myself, or there are parts of myself that I couldn't accept. So I wanted to receive what I was actually lacking from my child. I wanted to receive acceptance. And it took many more sessions when I could understand that I came from a lineage of women who had the same problem. They couldn't accept themselves as they are. So I'm talking about it because it was like a leap, on my spiritual journey. Of course, it didn't make a big impact in my daily life, but it did make a difference to how I approached parental love. And back to True Father's speech, when we hear when a couple loves each other, this is a kind of question that would be worth exploring. What does it actually mean to you? How you personally understand this? Because this is the key to parental love, because couple love is the extension of couple love is actually parental love. So there's maybe not enough time to do this kind of activity or sharing together what you understand, but I suggest it can be a homework, to discuss and reflect on that. But going to find the answer in divine principle. It says, divine principle says that God's love can be manifested in balanced giving and receiving between masculine and feminine. And this principle is the basis for creating a healthy family. So these words, we hear them, but maybe don't think too much about it in our daily lives. What is more like precisely expressing the same thing, I think, is that the words of Bert Hellinger. He's a late Bert Hellinger, a German philosopher who founded the method of family constellations. He said, a couple relationship can succeed if each partner takes 50% of responsibility for their relationship and for becoming parents. And he also introduced the term orders of love. Don't know if you are familiar with this, but he says that they are like basic laws, and if they are not followed, then there's no flow of love in the family system. And of course, the main one is the balance of giving and receiving, which makes like partners equal. But there is another one that is between parents and children, and it is not. It is not about balance between giving and receiving, but parents give and children receive. And if this law is broken, then there is this disorder, what we know maybe from our religious perspective, and we call it fall. So children can only balance what they are given, which is life, by passing it on. Or maybe if you can't have children, supporting life somehow, like being in service of life through adoption, or we can also do some creative work, like I know many teachers who couldn't have their own children, but they became like very significant parental figures for me. So this is the law, but because we are coming from this kind of disordered family systems, or there's not this vertical love flowing to us, our childhood often is full of difficult experiences where we lack love from our parents. And we basically, this makes us traumatized and create a defense mechanism. And these defense mechanisms or coping mechanisms become like hidden in our subconscious mind. And these are the parts that we cannot easily access because often they are denied, but healing is supposed to help. And we live in the era where actually if you are interested in this topic, there's a lot of shift on the worldwide stage, in this area of spiritual healing and energy healing and ancestral healing and trauma healing, because this is the time where this leap has to happen, as True Mother is hoping. And we need to believe this. So basically, I thought that basically to solve the problem could be easy because we could do some self-healing. And I think we have more and more access to this kind of practices where we can do, like, use, for example, words that can heal us, and look at the disorder in our family and identify it. But basically, what happened to me, and I'm sure to many of us, that when we live in this kind of dysfunctional families, we cannot say to our parents as children, look, you are responsible for bringing me to this world and supporting my spiritual growth. Why don't you do it? instead we distance ourselves from our parents or even reject them. And for me, the family constellations were like a tool that I could access some hidden dynamics in my family. And also it helped me to kind of find a way to go back into this vertical position towards my own children. Because actually the key to the healing, as I learned, is that we cannot grow, we have to heal ourselves first. And it means accept the way life was given to us by our parents. And it doesn't matter even if we experience their love as children, or even if we don't know them, this kind of acceptance is very important. So I learned that I cannot grow my parental love without accepting my parents. My parents, when I say accepting, my parents went to the blessing and they showed me their love in many ways. But I was still quite critical of them. And even I could say I was putting myself above them spiritually. So it took me a lot of energy, and I invested money in therapy sessions to get to the point when I could say from my heart to my parents, who at that point were already in the spirit world. So I could say, I accept you as my mom and dad, and you are okay the way you are. Thank you for giving, for going through your life experience and surviving. Thank you. Because of you, I could receive life. It came to me through you. And now I can make my own choices. So this is the example of what can happen in the family constellations. And that kind of opens a way to actually to look at ourselves. And I want to talk now about this inner child. Maybe you are familiar with this term. There are many actually ways to approach it, but just in short, it is a part of me that it has like almost its own life. I don't know that it's there, but it can show itself like suddenly I explode with anger, or I feel fear, intense fear, and there's no reason really. My husband is beside me. Or basically, I suffer constantly from anxiety. And when it happens, I kind of expect to be understood and to be supported, especially by my partner. And I expect his protection. But actually, I am just acting and feeling like a child, not like an adult. So when it resonates, if it resonates with you, it can be a hint that you need to get in touch with your inner child. And this way, I started to deal with my strong emotions, and also I realized that, I wear some masks, like I don't know that I have them, but these are the things that as a child I adopted to cope with stress and problems in my family. Basically, the approach to inner child healing that resonates with me, because it's based on divine principle, is one that is about being able to say to my parents, to my physical parents, you are an adult and I am a child. And then when I can say that, I can receive parental love because I'm in that right position of a child. And then the flow is easier. It's not blocked, this flow of love between parent and child. The problem is, and this is also my story, is when the child is stuck between parents, maybe because of a difficulty in their relationship, or even worse, if a child takes a position of a partner to one of the parents. And it happens sometimes energetically, especially when the couple relationship is not working. You know, some people say that a parent can become like a energetic vampire and take energy from their child. This is, to be honest, it's quite common. I think you know that because of many single parent families, many mothers are not supported by their partners. So it often happens that the child has to fulfill certain role that is not their responsibility. Another blockage, major blockage to this ability for parental love to reach their children and flow through the system is when a child takes position of parent towards their parents. It's called parentification. And sometimes it can also be towards younger sibling. For whatever reason, you know, if one of the parents is sick or dies, or having even mental health issues. So as I said, for me, it was like I was stuck between my mom and dad. They were good people, but they had their fights. They lived with my grandmother, and there were a lot of conflicts going on. But also there was, like, at one point, almost a breakdown of their relationship. And I always took the side of my mother, of course, in this. But then I came to also in my healing to the point when where I could say in this healing session, Mom, I'm allowed to love Dad the same way as I love you. And I could say to Dad, Dad, I'm allowed to love you the same way I love Mom. I'm from both of you. I'm half from Mom and half from my dad. So from today, I'm not going to get involved in your issues. And so these are the kind of healing words or power words that we can say to our parents. They don't have to, it doesn't have to be in a struggling situation, but that is the truth. But then I could also say to my parents who are already in the spirit world, now you are gone, try to solve your problems in the spirit world. You have the help of the angels, and you can go to divine principle, you can get to know divine principle, you can go to workshop or seminars for blessed couples. So what's not solved between you is not my responsibility. So that's the process I think I needed to go through in order to be actually able to take care of my inner child. And I like I like this therapist that I follow, you know, online. It is a process of taking responsibility for myself. So when we talk about the blessings, the first blessing is about that you know, even as an adult, we have to take responsibility to take care of the unfulfilled needs from our childhood. So we have this inner child, and the child might have adopted all kinds of, you know, coping mechanisms, and we have to raise this child. And this is also a way to develop our parental love. So our responsibility is to recognize the coping mechanisms of the masks of our inner child and kind of go through the process. And actually, my motivation, I must say, is not just for myself, or I need to take care of myself, but it is really for my own children and for the future generations. Because I think we are supposed to be the good ancestors, yeah, for our descendants. So I don't know if we can just quickly take a brief look at our inner child mask, so you can maybe identify with this or recognize something from your own inner family system. So one is manipulation. Maybe you catch yourself something, you don't openly express what you want. It happens a lot in my couple relationship. Oh, we are basically not honest, not able to talk honestly and openly. Another one is the mask of a child who is always content and smiling. It's called like Robbie Williams syndrome, that I'm happy outside, but inside I feel depressed. Another can be basically having health problems, because being sick is sometimes a way to get attention from our parents when we were children. It's like, you know, also at school, I can see that children say, look at me, I am not well, because they know they can get love and attention then. So I think I have been like a controlling and demanding child, like it involves a lack of boundaries, and my children sometimes have to point it out to me. So there's also sometimes a lack of respect for principles and rules of the society we live in, of a family. And this is quite, I think, common today with many families. You might recognize it. Another mask that I definitely have is, or my inner child has, is a rescuer syndrome. So as I said, when I was stuck between my parents, I also wanted to save, you know, their relationship, because every child wants it subconsciously. And they sometimes try to distract parents from arguing. I became a really good student, you know, trying to make my parents proud. And also there is parentification that I mentioned, when a child is a parent. And this means takes responsibility that's not theirs, take care of parental figure. But this can lead to this feeling when we are adults that I'm above my parents. And I think we are at a risk as a spiritual, you know, people on spiritual path, that we can say, oh, I am better. But we can also be a mean child, which means I will punish my parents by not achieving what they want. This is one of the masks. But the most common, I think, that we that we can easily recognize that it's our inner child acting out, is anger and aggression. And this is also, we are familiar from the Bible story. You know, this is to distract us from pain of experiencing separation from our mother, which for whatever reason it happens, it is very painful for the child. And you know, the problem with this inner child healing is that we are in denial, because when it was difficult, like when I as a child was separated from my mother and had to go to hospital, this anger is like so hidden and so difficult to access, that sometimes that basically to fix is difficult, because we just don't want to look at the reality. So we can pretend, for example, that we respect our boss or leader, and try to please people, but really we are inside angry and dislike them. And I think this devaluing ourselves is very difficult obstacle on our spiritual path, that we just don't feel very important or worth, even if, you know, if people have many blessings, financial blessings, and in many ways live in a comfortable situation, they can still feel that life is pointless. So that's the things we can look at when we deal with the inner child. But the work with the inner child is really mainly about getting in touch with our emotions. And when, as a child, we experience strong emotions, especially negative emotions, then we create beliefs. So if you allow me, I will try to actually engage you, so that it's not just about me talking, but you can also experience maybe something through this kind of, I'm not, you know, in a position to say that I can offer some healing, but and also it requires like really being able to want it and to focus on it. But I want to invite you to like a session maybe, or active participation, if you want to look at some concrete difficult experience from your past. Because working with inner child is basically about going to the past, to your childhood or adolescence, to the moments when maybe it was too much. Like it is too much for a child who, you know, who has a parent who is an alcoholic, for example, and has to sometimes feel like protect my mother. So when you are in your seat and make yourself comfortable, you can maybe take a couple of deep breaths to kind of relax your body, and you feel that you have this moment to focus on yourself. And I just want to also mention that this work involves, or this exercise or practice involves using your right side of brain, which is responsible for visualization or visioning. So I will ask you to imagine something. But first, just think of some emotion. You can, if you can name that emotion from your past, or from maybe from this moment, if you have an issue, and then think when you first felt like that. And then there is an important part of it, a question to ask yourself. What did I come to believe about myself, about people, and the world at that time of this experience, or when I felt this emotion in that situation? And the thing that I came to believe, it can be a belief that actually is impacting your life right now in this moment, but you are not aware that that it can be healed by just looking at your inner child, and that the belief can be kind of deprogrammed or let go of. So as I said, there is no time for like a longer approach, where in this visualization we usually visualize first our family and meet our parents, and then meet our inner child. But because of a time limit, I just want you to think of some issue, like maybe you have problems relating to others, or your relationship with money, or maybe your job and community issue. And think of a belief that you can identify with. Like, for example, I don't deserve to be helped or to get support. So I'm the leader, I can do it myself. Or maybe you can have a belief that I don't feel important enough. And it's connected to a moment in your childhood when you maybe looked at your siblings and felt that you are not as important as them to your parents. Maybe you felt completely powerless and felt there is no solution to my problem. Or I'm not good enough as a mother. Or I am not good enough as a father. Or I'm not good enough as a leader. I'm hopeless at my job. So just by taking breaths, you allow something to come to you. Maybe it's a vision or just a concept. If you can't see anything from your past, if you can't remember any experiences that you had that result maybe in this kind of victimhood, like nobody loves me. But if you catch a moment of getting this belief, and if you can identify this, then we can actually try to let it go. And I just want to mention that this inner child only helps when we are really ready to feel something. So in constellations, we have representatives, and we can see our, like, have insight in our subconscious, or they can express certain feelings. But for now, just let's take breaths and feel or imagine that you are in front of a door. And when you open it and you see yourself as a child, and you see that the child is having this difficult experience, and imagine you stand in front of yourself from that moment. And you hear the child, imagine you hear the child saying the words that he or she came to believe in the past. For example, you hear the child saying, I'm hopeless. I'm not important. Or maybe I'm too fat. Or I can't do this, Whatever is right for you. If you can imagine hearing from your inner child. So basically, you're saying what you think of yourself. And saying things that you come to believe. And basically, in this moment, you can say to your inner child, as an adult, standing there, I come to you from the future, where I'm learning how to love myself, and I'm learning how to take care of myself. You can take breaths. You can say these words in your heart, or you can just hear them and have an open heart to what you hear. And you can say, I want to give you something you have never been given. I want to give you my acceptance. And you say to this child, the way you are is okay. As you are is wonderful and has value. and you have value. And then if you stay in this visualization, I just want to say the next step would be to actually take the power back. It means that if we are able to see the people who made this child think this way or feel this way and come to acquire this kind of belief about himself or herself, or become like a victim, I can't do it. When you stand next to your child, you can move in your visualization, stand next to him and look at the people, or maybe a person. It might be maybe a mother or father who mistreated this child, and who even maybe said the words like, you know, your emotions are not important, don't cry, there's nothing to cry about. So you can look at this person or maybe people, because the wounding of this situation can also be with teachers or with other children at school. When the child is bullied, for example. And then you tell that person standing next to your inner child, you tell that person who is in that story, I see you. And I thought then it was no problem for you to do this or to say this or to treat me like this. I thought it was easy for you. You can breathe in and out. And then you can say, now I see and I get it, that only hurt children hurt children. Nobody is born evil. Nobody is born aggressive or angry. Nobody is born being like a toxic parent. So of course you can say whatever you want to say in this situation, because it's your own situation. But basically, you can say this also, all disorders are a result of lack of love. So this inner child work is about, as I said, identifying these beliefs, and you can do it at home, like you can say, you can even write, yeah, what I came to believe when I felt, for example, rejected, or when I felt unsupported, or when this trauma happened, because the most traumas of our childhood are when we didn't have anyone there for us when we needed help. Or when I came to believe when I was mistreated by somebody. So this can be your kind of homework. You can do this self-healing by yourself. But if we can go deeper right now, then if you have this belief identified, then you can go deeper and basically say opposite to this belief, to kind of deprogram or transform this belief. So I don't know, but I think many people, especially when you have some religious beliefs like ours, we feel alone, because we don't always feel it's easy for us to kind of express ourselves, and we are in places where we feel we don't belong, or we cannot count on anybody to support us if we speak what we believe. So if you have maybe this kind of experience, especially from our childhood, like second generation, when you felt alone, you can transform it through this inner child work by saying to this inner child that is with you, you are not alone. I am with you. Or maybe when you felt different than others because of your, religious beliefs, or you had a different energy, then you can say, the way I am, the way you are, like being different, is okay. You are actually a very unique and extraordinary person, and I love you. So the other part of this work, and I'm just doing it in a taking really shortcuts because of the time limit, as I said, but I just want to mention this, that about this unfulfilled needs in that situation that we might be working with, or you can do the self-healing. When you address certain emotions, we need to understand that some things from our childhood, some happened, and our needs were not fulfilled. But basically, now we are adults, and we must also differentiate or recognize the difference between what we didn't receive, or what needs remain unfulfilled, and how we felt, because they are not the same. So, for example, we felt the need of to be loved, but now we feel disappointed, yeah? And the child gets disappointments. So these are the two different things. So maybe I needed to be listened to, or be hugged, and to feel close to someone. But now I feel like I'm alone, and I'm not loved. So to heal this, we just have to identify this and say, how can I give to myself what I didn't receive then? So how can I give myself love? How can I listen to myself, or, say certain words to myself, like in this meditation or visualization? So we can actually, as adults, take care of these needs. And maybe you can relate to the anxiety. Like I suffer from anxiety, but it goes hand in hand with my need for security. Because in childhood, I went to hospital. I was in hospital. I was separated with my mother. I experienced this interrupted movement towards my mother, what is known in psychology as, the interrupted movement of love. And basically, I have to think how I can feel safe in this situation, how I can take care of myself so that I don't feel insecure. So every time I need to feel safe, I catch myself, oh, now my trauma is triggered. I subconsciously, almost automatically, goes to this anxiety, and I am able now to see the need for security. So I sometimes go to my husband, and he says all the time, but the challenge is how to say to myself, I can be this mother to myself. I have inside myself this adult part of myself, and I also have my inner parent in myself. And basically, through this work, you can see the difference between feeling humiliated, for example, if you had such an experience in childhood, and the need for support. So these two are different, but basically, to let go of this program, you need to focus on how to give yourself what you need. And for many, I think, young second generation mothers, I know that there's this issue of how to find balance between work and mission, and how to work, mission, and home and your children. And there's a lot of guilt. You know, I want to be free, but I feel guilty. Maybe also many blessed wives here identify with this. So to recognize this difference of feeling guilt and need for freedom, and then remember they are not exclusive. So I know my husband is telling me that it's time to finish. And I want to just mention that what I believe is that we can make a leap in our spiritual life, on our path, when we give attention to this inner child, to his or her needs. Because the more we do it, the less we expect from other people and from the world. And especially the less we can expect, the less of support we expect from our children. Because paradoxically, the less you expect from others, the more they want to give to you, because they feel this energy that you are not lacking, you are not needy. But some of you might say, look, this gratitude is such an important thing. Why don't we just be grateful for what we have instead of looking at what's heavy and difficult? Why would you want to like regress and go to your childhood? So what do I want to say to this? That actually I start to be more grateful when I look at those experiences, because there are valuable lessons in them. And also inner child is not only about difficult experiences, but also knowing your inner child is about accessing a lot of creativity and this imagination, being able to imagine things. And as an adult, when you know your inner child, you can make a decision to choose joy and to let go of the past and leave the burdens where they belong. So you can basically make this step forwards towards your future, and know that your ancestors, your good ancestors, are with you. And then you can create the reality of love and peace. And I think this has to be the end. Yeah. And I really thank you for listening. And you can always give me feedback if you want, and contact me if you would like to know more and talk about it. So thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Barbara. That was really, well, it was very extensive and very valuable, I think. But I'd like to ask your wonderful husband here to finish with a prayer. Please, Stephen.
Dearest Heavenly Father and Mother, we should have been born into a world where we would have known your love immediately through the wonderful parents. And something went wrong. Something went wrong a long time ago, and we found it so hard to express the kind of love that you know we can express. And the course of history is, how do we manifest that love in our lives, and how do we become ever closer to representing you in front of our children and in front of the world. And it's been a long course, and we're so sorry for you, Heavenly Father and Mother, because we hurt you so much, and you felt so much pain when you look at how lost your children are, and you just wish the best for us. And you sent Jesus and saints and to parents and all kinds of people to try to help us on our journey, and we are so slow, so very slow, considering your painful heart. You just want us to have the most joyful of lives and experience the most beautiful of love. And we have a lot of work to do and on raising ourselves and healing the past. But we pray we can do what is necessary so that we can really experience your love in our own hearts and know that we can then express it better into the world and to our spouse and to our children. So I thank Barbara for her lovely work in trying so hard to understand her own journey. And I hope she could touch someone today and offer them hope. And we can continue our journey and towards becoming your true children. So thank you for today. And I thank the community so much for existing and for trying to build something beautiful amongst themselves so that the children can have hope in a very crazy world. I pray this in the name of Stephen, Barbara, Stacey, a blessed central family. Adieu.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Barbara, once again. Yeah, I think that when we hear somebody's personal journey together with the message that they want to share, it's so valuable because they've lived it. And yeah, as I said, Barbara has a lot of tools that she's picked up along the way and really wants to share it, not keep it just to herself. So yeah, she's got a few Facebook pages if anyone is interested to join. She puts a lot of posts on that you can just read. And yeah, I don't know, what are the names of them, Barbara?
One is Creating Our Family, and the other one is Space for Healing and Growth on Facebook. And also you can mention that we have this prayer group if somebody would like to.
Okay.
To work in small groups.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if anyone's interested, Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock, yeah, 10 a.m. And you can just contact me if you want to join. It's been sisters so far, just a small group of Blessed Wives sisters. But I guess we can open it up or whatever. Yeah, so Elliot, are there any announcements that you want to make? Or
we've got just 2 local announcements. The Sangwa of Aunt Maria is this coming Tuesday, and also on Tuesday evening we have the ILS UPF event. Maybe you want to plug that and give the details very quickly, Uncle David.
Yeah, just quickly, this week is called Interfaith Harmony Week, United Nations Interfaith Harmony Week. So there's lots of events going on up and down the country. And we're going to do one from the UPF side. If you've heard of IAPD, it's Interreligious Association for Peace and Development. So we'll have 5 speakers addressing the issue of speaking truth to power. Sounds quite a dramatic title, but it basically means letting people know about positive examples where people of faith are engaging with politicians, decision makers, people in positions of responsibility. So we'll have 5 speakers. That's 7 o'clock this Tuesday evening, and the link will be sent out if you're interested to hear some pretty good speakers. Yeah, thank you.
Just one last thing, the link is the same link as the Wednesday evening prayer link. So yeah, it's easily accessible. I emailed it out earlier this week as well. That's all from me. Thank you.
okay then, so thank you very much everybody for coming today. And I hope, as Stephen prayed, that somebody could gain something and even want to try to practice these kinds of things. It's interesting because I think that, we have the principle our whole lives, divine principle, but many people maybe could have benefited much earlier from some of the things that Barbara talked about, as far as resolving, blocks and barriers in our life that keep us from reaching what God wants us to reach. So yeah, if you want to follow up or ask any questions to Barbara, please do. Thank you and have a wonderful week. And God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for emceeing, Aunt Ginger. Thank you, Aunt Barbara, for giving the talk. It's very inspiring.
You're welcome.